Well, when you talk about Dan Cathy, who once again is the owner of Chick-fil-A, he's kind of had an interesting history in terms of statements he made with the gay community, in terms of statements he made about family. He said, we are very much supportive of the family, the biblical definition of the family unit. We are a family-based owned business, a family-led business, and we are married to our first wives. We give God thanks for that. We want to do anything we possibly can to strengthen families. We're very much committed to that. We intend to stay the course. We know that it might not be popular with everyone, but thank the Lord that we live in a country we can share our values and operate on biblical principles. He basically had said, that type of tone basically said that he does not approve of gay marriage. And there was a number of protests that have happened around Chick-fil-A. Now, Chick-fil-A turned around and started donating to gay causes and so forth. But there's still a stigma attached to it. What is your take on the statements? Have you heard this, or is this all new to you?
Nah, I didn't know that. Nah, I didn't even know that. So I don't know where they stand or where they stood. You know what I'm saying? That's not something I was even aware of. That's news to me. I don't know them like that. I just know them for making some bomb chicken sandwiches. I didn't even know that they was on.
Well, let me go on and tell you some of his other statements. He said, I think we are inviting God's judgment on our nation when we shake our fist at him and say, we know better than you as to what constitutes a marriage. I pray God's mercy on our generation that has such a prideful, arrogant attitude to think that we have the audacity to define what marriage is about.
Wow. That's something that they still stand by that to this day?
Yeah. The quote I gave you first was a follow-up to the original quote. He even, when he did an interview with a biblical recorder, when they asked him about opposition of his company's support of the traditional family, he replied, well, guilty as charged.
So wait, I kind of missed the quote, but I guess I'm just kind of like, I don't know the whole quote.
He basically says that they support the traditional male-female marriage. Okay.
I got you.
Now, he's saying that for people who think that their definition of marriage, which could be two males, two females, whatever else.
Yeah.
If they feel they know better than God when it comes to their definition of marriage, well, he prays that they have mercy for this arrogant attitude to actually define what marriage is against what God is saying in the Bible.
Wow. Honestly, I don't know. I've never had a conversation with him about his views on marriage or sexuality or anything like that. So I can't speak for where he stands or what he believes. But I don't know what the owner of McDonald's believe. I don't know what the owner of Burger King believe either. I don't know what none of these folks believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm being 100. So I guess it just comes down to, because even like for me, I'm like, I feel like I'm constantly in a state of being educated. I'm constantly like in a state of like trying to understand perspectives and trying to understand mindsets and how people got to the perspectives that they got to, or, because everybody who says they're a Christian, you know what I'm saying? I guess it's like black people. We don't all like, you can't just say all black people think the same. And everybody who's a Christian doesn't have the same vantage point or the same perspective. So for me, I'm more just like, let me sit down and kind of understand. Now, how did you get here? Now, what is your perspective on that? And you know what I'm saying? This is the first I heard it. I didn't even know this.
Well, when you mentioned McDonald's or Wendy's, those are actually corporations.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
They're not owned by anybody. They're owned by the shareholders. And a CEO is hired by that company and could be fired by the company. Chick-fil-A is not a public company. What I meant before was they're public corporations. They're you could buy stock in those companies. Chick-fil-A is a private company.
Gotcha.
It is owned by that guy. Okay? No one's firing him. So he could really say whatever he feels like saying.
Yeah.
And his family owns everything. If you don't like it, don't eat his chicken.
But isn't that being 100 though? Isn't that how most entrepreneurs get down? They say what they want to say. Like Grant Cardone, say what he want to say. He believe what he want to believe about how he run his business. You know what I'm saying? On one end of the spectrum, it's kind of like, I think sometimes, we go hard on one angle and not hard on the other angle. Like, I feel like when Snoop had the 2 chicks with the leash on them walking down the thing, I love Snoop, but that was his perspective at the time, and I don't know if they condemned him or not, or they said something negative against him. You know what I'm saying? But I'm like, he had his perspective in pimping, and Bishop Don and pimping was their perspective, and I'm like, I feel like that's, we cool with people having like one vantage point and letting them rock their perspective. But when somebody has an alternate view or whatever, it's kind of like, instead of sitting down and having a conversation saying, now, how did you get to this perspective? Now, why do you feel like this? Now, why do you feel like this? I feel like it just go one way or the other. It's never like a conversation about how you got there.